Good morning, Dan and Amy. Chicago making national news, getting national attention again. And, of course, it's bad news. It's about the violence endemic to the city. USA Today, there's not a comparable year. Homicides are up 52% in Chicago amid COVID-19, with majority involving people of color. The nation's second largest city, second largest county, of course, not city. The nation's second largest county has recorded more homicides this year than all of 2019, and up 52% year over year. The majority of which, 95%, were people of color. 95%. The majority of the perpetrators, at least those who have been identified as suspects or taken into custody, of course, are also people of color. That's a outgrowth of white supremacy, of institutional racism. Is that right?
312-642-5600. Turnkey.pro. Answer line 64636. Type in DA, then a quick comment.
I know that's a rhetorical question, but it's just worth revisiting time and again, because what does the left have to say in response to everything? Racism.
Trump's fault, racism.
Right.
Yeah.
It's all identity politics all the time. So just the data and the questions that follow. Like this in Minnesota. This is really something. Minnesota City Council.
No, I love it.
Wondering where the police are.
Oh, you mean they wanted to defund them, and they voted to defund them and to dismantle their police department at one point in time, didn't they?
City Council member for representing Ward 6 there in Minneapolis said he's been inundated with complaints from residents that calls for police aren't being answered. The only public safety option they have at the moment is the MPD, Minneapolis Police Department. They rely on MPD, and they're saying they're nowhere to be seen. You're a group of racists that we want to defund and reimagine, and now we can't find you. Imagine that. And, of course, Minneapolis, like so many of these cities, but particularly Minneapolis, of course, the site of the George Floyd police-involved killing, seen a spike in their violent crime rate year over year, too. So all of this goes to form a part of the backdrop for the November 3rd election. And as we were talking about with Brett Baer, the concern, and as Peggy Noonan writes about in the Wall Street Journal, get ready for an election crisis. That's sort of the conventional wisdom emanating from the Beltway, sort of conditioning us for lawlessness or just about anything under the sun in terms of leftist planning to secure the presidency November 3rd, one way or the other, legitimately or less than legitimately. And as it pertains to this push for full mail-in voting, just another story to add to Paterson, New Jersey, to add to the New York primary over the last couple of months. The New Jersey July 7th primary.
Has that been decided yet?
That's more than 2 months old. Paterson, New Jersey is doing a redo.
The New York one was finally settled, by the way, the two congressional races.
New Jersey, Paterson, New Jersey is redo because 20% of the mail-in ballots were spoiled. Officials in Sussex County, New Jersey, just discovered 1,666 ballots in a bin that was mislabeled. My bad.
Oh, that's a problem.
Oopsie. The local board of elections consulted with New Jersey Attorney General about what to do. The wayward ballots were tabulated, and the board said the revised count did not change the outcome of any Sussex County primary election in any race for any office. Okay. Well, we'll take your word on that. Perhaps that's true. Bin that was mislabeled, then you have questions. If I was somebody who lost a close race in Sussex County, then I have questions about chain of custody and so on and so forth with respect to these labels, with respect to these ballots being counted and so forth. I mean, it's just another example of what we're talking about when we say the mail-in push doesn't guarantee fraud, but it puts a lot more slack in the system to make fraud and other irregularities, incompetence, more likely. And that's unhelpful if you want people to have confidence in the administration of an election, and if you want people to see the outcome of that election as legitimate so that
Right.
we continue to maintain the peaceful transitions of power or the continuation of power as the outcome may dictate.
Well, my faith in the system is a little, it's eroding because yesterday I got this letter, and I'm sure a lot of you did. There was a lot of action on social media. Dear elector, correspondence was previously sent to you by your local election authority with information on how to apply for a vote by mail ballot. Never applied for anything. Your local election authority has indicated that you have not yet applied for a ballot. However, you still have time to submit an application for a vote by mail ballot. I never, ever told anyone or responded to anything about a vote-in ballot.
Yeah, but that's just push marketing by the Democrats, by Jesse White, the Secretary of State, to get people to
Like now's that you've
sign
got to
up
act
for the
now.
mail ballot. That's
Right.
just a push because
And it's in 7 different languages.
this court ruling with respect to mail-in voting that was brought by action brought by Cook County Republican Party. On the one hand, they lost; they didn't get the adjunctive relief they sought. But on the other hand, they did get a victory on ballot harvesting. Ballot harvesting is not allowed. The individual must request the ballot.
Oh.
And
this isn't ballot harvesting?
and follow those protocols. So this is trying to get you to request the ballot because they can't just ballot harvest. They can't just pass out and collect. So this is
I see what you're
you
saying.
have
Okay.
to do it, and so you get checked out. So there's some quality control over the dissemination of mail-in ballots.
I like voting on election day, so of course I would never have indicated that I was going to apply for a mail-in ballot. But all right.
For more on all of this, we're pleased to be joined by Chris Farrell. He's the Director of Research and Investigation at Judicial Watch, which served as the shadow Department of Justice during the previous presidential administration, and now is litigating much of these election-related issues that we've been discussing. Chris Farrell, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hey, Chris.
Do we have Chris?
Hello.
Oh, all right. Well, I'll tell you what. We'll take a break and we'll effort to get Chris back, and we'll rejoin when we have him.
Hear about the big stories of the day, then talk about them right here on Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
After 25 years of building websites for all kinds of companies in many different industries, AmericanEagle.com realized a well-designed website is also your best employee, bringing efficiency, revenue, production, showing up every day, giving above and beyond to increase your bottom line. That's what a website designed, developed, and hosted by AmericanEagle.com has brought to so many clients. An AmericanEagle.com website is a 24/7 branding exercise, building rapport and thus brand equity while you sleep. Companies like WeatherTech have relied on AmericanEagle.com's website design and development and hosting capabilities for years. When some of the world's top brands need a reliable company to prepare their sites for high-traffic events, who do they call? AmericanEagle.com. Their clients have come to rely on them for a full line of website services, from consulting and strategy to digital marketing, hosting, and maintenance. Give the team at AmericanEagle.com a call today. 1-877-WEB-NOW. The number 1 is the number. AmericanEagle.com is the website. 1-877-WEB-NOW-1 is the number.
Attention maintenance coordinators and chief engineers. Welding is a craft requiring highly skilled personnel and specialized equipment. So who do you call when you need welding? Vans Industrial can perform all types of welding at your site or in their shop.
Hi, I'm Dave Van Camp, president of Vans Industrial. As a metal fabricator and installer, welding is a huge part of our business. At Vans, we have trained AWS certified welders, skilled in welding all types of alloys. We can weld carbon steel, stainless steel, brass, and aluminum with a variety of techniques, including MIG, TIG, and stick. And we have equipment to reach the farthest parts or the tightest areas of your facility.
Vans uses only the best and safest union-trained mechanics, insured at the highest level, to perform the job right. Call 833-VANS-IND to schedule your welding project today. That's 833-VANS-IND. Or visit vansindustrial.com. VANSindustrial.com. Vans Industrial, working safe since 1964.
AM 560. The Answer.
Dan and Amy are picking up our discussion about the November 3rd election in terms of its integrity, what we should anticipate, or what we're being psychologically conditioned to expect, perhaps. We're pleased to be joined by Chris Farrell, Director of Research and Investigation at Judicial Watch. Chris, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Great to be with you.
And so you wrote you wrote a couple of pieces about this psychological conditioning, the war gaming that we've talked about on this show that's been going on to sort of tease out all kinds of dystopian scenarios about the future of the republic pending a close election where there is no agreement on who the victor is. So sort of give us your sense of what you think the Beltway elites are trying to condition us to anticipate.
Well, the great thing is that we don't even need to sort of guess at it. We have a written document. There's an organization called the Transition Integrity Project, TIP, and this Transition Integrity Product features characters like John Podesta, who's a lifelong, Clintonista sort of handler of the Clinton political dynasty, and then probably 60 other political operatives, mostly Democratic, a handful of sort of never-Trumper Republicans in name only. That way they can call themselves bipartisan, of course, when you have people that, loathe the current administration and they're heroes to the left. But these people at TIP generated a 22-page report, and they detail all their plans to disrupt the election. Of course, they're really cute about it, and they use projection. So they say, oh, these are ways that we can prepare to not have a disruptive election. But then they list all the stuff they're going to do to disrupt the election, multiple lawsuits. But then the most disturbing thing, besides the legal challenges and sort of the administrative challenges, is they then say, well, it's probably going to end up in street violence. So they're very cute in the way that they talk about it. They don't actually explicitly advocate for violence, but they're just a whisper away from saying, yeah, go ahead and get out in the street and engage in violence against persons and property.
Well, that's what our biggest fear here in Chicago is if Trump wins and they're going to loot and destroy the downtown and the Mag Mile all over again.
Well, when you read this TIP report, I mean, they're very crafty people. Look, they're very smart political operatives, and they're totally lawyered up, right? So they're not going to make the mistake of affirmatively calling for violence. They're not that stupid, but they are talking themselves into it, and they are just a whisper away. They say, well, this could result in street violence, and there could be unorthodox reactions to voting results, and even if Trump does win, it might be what they use, a term that a lot of their supporters use, is a red mirage, that the victory might just be early reporting.
Right.
And they want to count and count and count and count and count votes until they get the number they want.
Right, and so I mean it's very much like Joe Biden's speech on violence a couple of weeks ago, where he basically said, you think that the violence is going to subside if President Trump is reelected, more or less saying you either elect me or the violence continues. I mean, it was a veiled extortionary threat, and that's the same thing you have going on here with this wargaming. But one of the interesting things I've read quite a bit about this now, is how quickly it descends into madness. Such that John Podesta, playing the role of the Biden campaign honcho, after a failed attempt to litigate for resolution, he gets the Democrat governors of Western states, California, Washington, Oregon, to threaten to secede from the Union unless certain demands that they have about the future construct of America's political system are met, such that they'll accept President Trump as the victor in a scenario where he's clearly the victor. We're still not going to accept him clearly as the victor unless you give us, the elimination of the Electoral College and other such structural changes to our representative republic, and we'll do it under threat of these states seceding from the Union.
Well, there's obviously a number of people who would be quite pleased to have those three states secede from the Union.
Right.
But of course, there's somehow the historical irony of Democrats calling for secession is lost on them, right? Lincoln did not win a single electoral college vote south of the Mason-Dixon line, not one. And what did the southern states do? They seceded, and it was led by who? Democrats. And so now there's no irony, there's no sense of history doesn't always repeat itself, but sometimes it rhymes. And is this lost on these people? Are they that clueless that they're advocating? Democrats are advocating for secession based on a presidential election.
And so
have they learned nothing?
Well, and it seems to me it speaks to what you were saying about the street violence as well. It's just another veiled threat. Look, either you're going to have to vote for Joe Biden. Joe Biden either wins, or we're going to burn down cities, or cities will be burned down. We're not going to do it, but it's going to happen, and the disintegration of the republic will soon follow.
Right, and the other piece of this, which is actually the second part of an article I did, is the psychological conditioning that they are attempting to do through both manipulation of the news media and social media, and then sort of mentally pounding it into people's heads that, look, don't vote. If you do vote, do it by mail. There's all these efforts to suppress essentially Republican or let's just say right of center conservative turnout, right? They are desperate and frantic to do that, and they do it with threats of retaliation. They do it with a sense of unease about civil unrest. They do it with this crazy voting scheme that they have, where you vote and vote and vote until you finally get the numbers that you want. And look, you have a COVID-compliant country where everyone's kind of, recoils and hunkers down in their home based on orders from some, loser mayor who's just trying to manipulate the public. This is really dangerous stuff, and there's a lot of people who just, will shrug and say, you know what, forget it. I'm not even interested in playing. Screw this. And that's the real danger, is that people will feel disconnected, even more disconnected than they are in crazy pandemic world.
Give us your rank order priority of concerns about the legitimacy of the election. I mean, because there's a lot of moving parts here. There's a story out this week. Nearly 350,000 dead registrants remain on voter rolls across 41 states, according to an audit conducted by the Public Interest Legal Foundation. That's a big improvement over a Pew Research report from 2012 that found 2 million deceased voters on the rolls, but still 350,000 is 350,000, combined with what we saw in terms of the administration of mail-in elections in both New Jersey and New York, combined with the veiled threats that we were talking about. How do you see this playing out, or sort of what's your threat assessment in terms of the priorities, where we should be focused if we want to maintain the integrity of the elections as best as possible?
Well, as disturbing as those numbers are that you just cited, it's chicken feed. It's nothing. In Los Angeles County, we had a huge court victory earlier this year where we forced Los Angeles County, Judicial Watch forced Los Angeles County, through our litigation, to remove 1.5 million names,
right,
false names, off the voting rolls in Los Angeles County alone. In one county, 1.5 million. The people were either dead, or they moved away, or they were felons, or there's all sorts of reasons why somebody should be taken off of a voter roll. That's just in one county in one state. And you have people like Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, mailing ballots to every single person in the state.
And so,
you can't control where those mail ballots go and who fills them out and how they're turned in. There's no way to verify that. No way.
And so where do things stand? Give us a national perspective where things stand as these mail-in voting protocols are being litigated at state by state everywhere, just as one was recently adjudicated in Cook County, as I mentioned.
Yeah, there's no way to have there's no one-size-fits-all answer, because all of the states run their own elections. Frankly, it really boils down to a county-by-county level.
Yeah.
Because what happens is a county election supervisor runs the show. They have different titles, but basically it's administered at the county level. And then a secretary of state of each of the individual states certifies that return. And so you can't, that's kind of the beauty of our electoral system. That's why there's these, ridiculous claims. Oh, the Russians hacked the election. How the hell did they hack, 3,900 counties worth of elections? That's how many counties there are in the country. They didn't, and so anybody who claims that is, it's preposterous.
But I assume Judicial Watch, like the respective political parties, are focusing resources where you expect counties, focusing resources on counties that may be instrumental in turning a state one way or the other, and then turning the election one way or the other. Perhaps counties in Pennsylvania or Wisconsin. Yeah.
Absolutely, and that's why we've litigated in those states to try to clean up voter rolls. And that's why we've conducted education for folks on how to be, poll watchers and advocating for folks to have fair, clean elections. We have an entire division or section within our litigation department at Judicial Watch that does nothing but election work. And so we've been extremely active over the last few years, and right up to right now, at this minute, in an effort to get voter rolls clean and to make sure that there's some sense of confidence in the electoral process.
So how do you feel about some of those swing states versus, failed states like Illinois or California?
It's a coin toss, frankly. I mean, that is what's so disturbing. There's no guarantee. There's no, when people talk about election fraud, there's been multiple examples. Recently, I heard you earlier in the segment talking about Patterson, New Jersey, and other places. We have to be extraordinarily vigilant that all sorts of little weird games and mischievous stuff is not carried out in this presidential election. When the van pulls up with 5 extra boxes of ballots, and Tony comes in and says, "Hey, look what we found." I mean, everyone should be on high alert. They should be alarmed by these little games. Just think about the insanity in Florida in the last election, right? Stuff goes missing, or they find a box in a rental car in Tampa, there's all these weird stories of stuff either going missing or suddenly being found right at the deadline.
Yeah.
This should be an alarm for every single voting American, that when you see these little stunts being played.
He is Chris Farrell, the Director of Research and Investigation at Judicial Watch. Chris, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Great to be with you. Thanks.
Thanks. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line. Coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
It's Open Mic Friday. We moved it up a half hour to the top of the 8 o'clock hour because we have Shelby Steele at the bottom of the 8 o'clock hour to talk about his new documentary on Michael Brown's killing and Ferguson, Missouri. So give us a call, 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. Any topic, any comment, so long as it's not profane.
Yes,
any compliment at 808.
Keep it clean. But now let's head into the newsroom. Alicia Zian for Mike Scott. It is 8 a.m. WIND, Chicago.
They'll both be on the same battleground. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. President Trump and Joe Biden will campaign in the same states.
Biden wants to surrender our country to the violent left-wing mob.
That was at a Trump rally last night in Wisconsin.
We're doing a great job relative to other countries on the coronavirus.
And he touted his fast-tracking vaccines to be ready soon. His Democratic challenger blamed the president for all the COVID deaths in the U.S., calling his response almost criminal.
This is not only causing us